products here at Be Crafty. My name's Bev. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're catching up later, you can fast forward this bit because I might make something at the end if you want. But if not, I'm going to go through 3 fabulous new paper packs and the new stamps. So that's quite nice. So if you are planning to stick around and just watch me for a little bit, if you could like and subscribe to the Be Crafty YouTube channel, that would also be exceedingly helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, so today we have got 2 new stamp sets and 3 new paper packs, which I am very, very excited to show you. But like I say, we will hang on a few minutes and wait to see who else is going to be joining us. Oh. I tell you what, I could be ever so good and share the live, couldn't I? Excuse me. Okie dokie. I can't get it to open. Okay. Hello, Sally, my darling. How are you? Are you good? Oh, didn't turn turns off on my phone. Rookie mistake, if ever there was one. There we go. What a lovely morning this morning. It's so bright compared to how it has been. Sammy, have you posted? Have you posted the live on the Be Crafty YouTube Facebook page? If not, I can do that. Hello, Moira. How are you, my lovely? She has indeed. I'm very organised. Right, let's start getting some things out. Dull and grey. Oh, it's lovely here. It's a beautiful morning in the Shire. Okay. So we have 3 new Catalyst Collage, because obviously Catalyst Collage are my new favourite hyperfixation. And we have 2 new stamp sets. Okay, so let's get all these out and have a look. Now this is something Sam and Alison have been, shall we say, not no, I'm going to say it, petitioning for a very long time. And it's one of those, it wasn't because I was against the idea. It's just all about time, isn't it? It's having enough time all the time. Having enough time all the time. I feel like I said time far too many times. What can you do? Okay, so let's start going through them. Okay, so we'll go through the A4s because the A5s are the same and you'll be able to see more detail in the A4s, you see? So it makes perfect sense to me. But, you know, just to clarify, your A5s are half the size of the A4s. Huzzah. And as always, I do say you have to thank Sally for the A5s because when we launched Catalyst Collage, it was only ever going to be an A4. And then Sally sort of wore us down. It didn't take much. It didn't take much. I mean, I shouldn't put out that there was any sort of a fight put up because there really wasn't. But, you know, it was specifically at her request that we do have the A5s. Okay, now, so let's go through all of these. So we have called this ones Moths and Peonies because that's the stamps. And they do appear across the papers as well. However, with the Moths and Peonies, obviously, that was sort of obvious as to what I wanted to put on those papers. But I Also wanted to make sure, I love using all of the Catalyst Collage portrait styles, like the rainbow thoughts, the painted gaze. Do you know what I mean? They're beautiful, and I think they make art journaling really easy, and you can just do so much with them, or do so little with them if that's more your choice. I think that's the thing, it gives you that all of those options as to whether to add or not. I've gone with a really sort of autumnal theme with these ones, and then so you've got all of these beautiful portraits, but with those autumn leaves and things included. Okay, so like I said, these are A5. You do have your white border around the edge, so if you're layering into an A4 journal, you can either keep that or you can cut it off and colour underneath as well. So it's really sort of gives you those sort of options. Okay, so we've kept it in a really, I want to keep it quite vintagey as well, because I think that really works with the autumnal themes. But I will say the creative team have been adding in a lot of bright colours, and I'd also do think that works. So if when you do get these home, make sure you send us pictures of everything you've made, because we're nosy and we like that. Okay, so this one here, you've got lots of script. You've got the moths on here, some acorns, and the oak leaves and all the things around here, but in that lovely sort of sepia tone. This one, I love this one because it's sort of got that real sort of Victorian feel with the lines and all this sort of thing, and there's a bit more white space, so if you wanted to add in more colour to this one, you absolutely could. This one with the two faces, if sort of the profile on different sort of angles, I think really works as something different. And again, if you're layering these up, you could actually piece them together, or you, for example, you could cut round there as well and just use that section if you wanted to add in different things in the background. So for example, if you wanted to use an easy frame blended background, add in some more leaves, that would be absolutely stunning. I think this one also really lends itself to adding in more colour, because you do have a lot more of that sort of white / grey background and not just the vintage tones, so it does give you that sort of maneuverability as well. At the minute, this girl, she is one of my favorites, I think, because you have got all these extra elements, but I can see where also you could easily cut her out. So I just feel like she's got lots of potential, which is really, really good. Again, you've got this one with the two smaller portraits, but as well, it means you've got this nice big section if you're just looking for that sort of background look. Sometimes it's hard to tell with Catalyst Collage, am I putting in too much, or is that really good? For example, like I was saying, when you don't necessarily want to add a lot in, you just want to get some paper into your book, add on a couple of stamps and some words, and you're done. It's hard to know if I'm getting the balance right. Sorry. And then, oh, get my cuppa actually. That one tickled. Bisto. And then this one, again, you've got those lovely vintagey tones with your portrait gazing off into the distance. But again, you have got this larger section here if you were looking for the background, just for background for a card or something like that. You know, you have got all of this section here. This would also be really handy. So for example, this is possibly the portrait I would choose if I was going into this book. Okay, because I'll show you. Where is she? So this one here, okay, similar sort of thing. You've got a smaller portrait. So for this one, I cut the portrait to go here and go over the seam, and then I would use this section to make up the difference. Okay, and that's a way of almost rotating the page to fit a landscape page in a journal of this size. So, and that's how I would use this one here if I wanted to create a double layout. We might do that later tonight, you never know. Okay, because of course I will be using these in tonight's Try It Out Tuesday. Okay, and then we're on to the last one. Now this, again, very similar to this one. You have those smaller portraits, which means, sorry, oh, I've got a right tickle. Which means that you can have a whole portrait on a smaller journal page, but you can incorporate this to make it a full landscape print if you want to. And that's what I like about this one. But this one is a bit more white space, so you could add in a bit more of your own colours if you wanted to. All right, so let's go there. So that is the Autumn Portraits. Very imaginative name, I think. Thank you very much. But you can see how it's a wonderful theme and how usable these are, which is sort of the point, isn't it? It's making sure that you have these products that you want to use, and you should. Okay, so let's put that one to the side. Okay, next we have the Moths and Peonies. Now this is sort of like a black and white grayscale thing that we haven't done so far in Catalyst Collage. Now what sort of prompted this was the Peonies. So if you look at your peony stamp, it's this image here, okay? So what I wanted you to be able to do is add in sort of colours, rainbow effects and all this sort of thing with these florals. But obviously we have put the moths and things in there as well so that they do fit. And a lot of these are more, sorry, background creative to go with your stamps as well. So let's have a look through. All right. Thank you so much. Dave's brought me squash. Okay, so just cut me off guard now. So again, you sort of got this, I don't know if lithographic's the right word. You know, the Victorian line print, is that lithographic? Regardless, you know what I mean. Okay, and then you've got your moths, butterflies on here. Okay, then we have this one I'm going to go through quite. Now these big peonies, I'm actually really looking forward to cutting these out, because I wouldn't even call these fussy cutting, because you've got these lovely strong lines to follow. It's going to be really, really easy, and I'm looking forward to layering these up, even in black and white over sort of like a rainbow effect. I think that's going to look really effective and be absolutely beautiful. Okay, this one is sort of more photographic. It's kind of like the page is there and then we've put a pen and a butterfly's landed on top, which I really, really like. But again, you could cut out these sections and use them as they are. Similar thing here. Now this one, I love how these are opening. I think they're really full blooms, absolutely stunning. So much you can do with them, and again you can layer up lots of your moths on top. Okay, this one is a bit darker because I wanted to bring that sort of, I didn't, you know, we were going black and white, so that doesn't mean just the white space. This one, I think I would use more as a whole background and maybe colour in the individual elements separately. This one has more of a photographic quality to it, so it's sort of like a different texture again, which is really, really good for your journals. I think mixing the textures, you know, in one of the previous Catalyst Collage, you've got a sort of gouache look from the Coneflower release, and that can be really, really stunning because it just creates a different texture look on your pages. Now, I think this will possibly be a favourite of lots of people because you've got this lovely big image here that you can either cut out or layer. Or just use as it is and then add other things on top. I think it just has so much potential and so much you can do with it. So, and then this one, which is the basis of this stamp. So definitely a favourite because I liked it enough to turn it into a stamp. Okay, so that is the A4 Moths and Peonies, and of course that is available in the A5 as well. Okay, so and then we're on to the moths. Now this one, I'm so sorry about this coughing. I want to assure you I have not coughed. I have not so much as done that all morning. It's always the way. Okay, this one is Sam's just so excited for. It's when she was asking for moths and things like that, this is what she meant. So here we are. I've got a funny feeling this is not going to be the last moth set of stamps I make either, because they're so good. Okay, so these again, we've gone for that really Victorian vintage look. You've got the 8 in there like you do with all of your Catalyst Collage, and these are a real mix of you can cut and layer, you could tear them, this sort of thing. It really does sort of mix. Okay. And then, so here we go. You've got your different moths. Not all of these are real. Okay. That's not how reality is a construct. Okay, so you've got all these with their vintage elements. A few more peonies snuck into here. And then you've got your texts as well. This one, this is a really big, bold one. And in all honesty, I almost didn't include it because I was like, that's a really bold design to go on. But again, I was, and obviously it is pretty monochrome in its colours. But I thought if you wanted to add paint to it, it would actually take it really, really well. And again, if you wanted to sort of create that juxtaposition between rainbow and this sort of vintage, you could add in some of your moth stamps in sort of rainbow effects over the top. Okay, we've got this guy here with this sort of lovely sort of swallowtail. Then this one, again, if you look, lots of these have lots of different moths on that you're going to be able to cut out and layer however you want, and then you can always use the extra bits. Okay, and then this one, he's really funky and he's just got these lovely, he just gives me steampunk vibes. And then you've got your different floral elements, and then sort of like the ledger behind. What I like about this one is he's sort of on a different angle. It's not just, it's almost profile. It's not just that one, so it just gives a different sort of effect, which is really, really good. And then this guy, he is actually my favourite, but I think it's because he's yellow. He's the most beat, and it sort of looks like the vintage layout. Okay, so something you'd see in the Natural History Museum. So those are your 8 moths. So you have your moths, and peonies, and your autumn portraits, all of which are available on the website now, so you can go over and have a look at those. And these are included, if you're just getting Catalyst Collage today, these are included in the Catalyst Collage multi-buy that are on that section of the website, so you can do that. Okay, shall we stamp out some stamps? Now obviously usually when we do a launch I spend a little bit of time stamping out some stamps, but because this is one big stamp and 5 smaller ones, it's not going to take us very long today. Okie dokie, so let's get the pink book of stampiness. You can see what I've been doing. And we will stamp these out for you. This is not very good watercolour. It's fine for colouring in, but it's not very good for... Right. So, for your peony print, I've called it peony print because I thought it sort of has the look of the peonies being over a lined piece of paper, in my opinion. And as I'm the one that was naming them, that's just sort of how it went. Okay, you will need one of your bigger Super Skinny Slims for this. And I'm going to get my VersaFine Clair and ink it up. Now, for me, this stamp is one of those fabulous examples that I absolutely adore. Because, obviously, we still have the polymer stamped outer. They're like, oh, you can't get the detail on polymer stamp. Yes, you can. You absolutely can, because if you couldn't, I wouldn't have them. Alright, now I'm wondering which way up. Doesn't matter. Okay, so you can see you've got all these lovely details in here and in the leaves. And then you have, you've got all these fine lines. Absolutely stunning. I've dribbled some glue or something on my stamp. There's a bit there that didn't stamp out properly. I was like, that's me, got my stamp dirty. And I thought I was done so well getting them clean. Shock horror. Bev didn't clean a stamp properly. That's okay. Gives us an excuse to stamp it again. Okay, so we're going to ink this up again. Is it annoying when you don't notice when you're inking up though? That's annoying. We're going to go again. Now, the beauty of it is, I don't actually think it's that noticeable on there. So, I'll still be able to use it. So if you look, I just think it's such a stunning print. And you're going to be able to use it, again, in so many ways, or better than that, very few. Okay? Do you know what I mean? You're not going to have to do a lot with it if you don't want to. And I think it'll work if you're using it for card making in lots of different ways. And if I was using it for art journaling, you see, I cut it out. So I think just a bit ATCs, tags. Ooh, tags. That's going to make a nice tag. Very good. Okay, so on to the Moths, which I've just called Moths. I'm not necessarily at my most creative when I'm doing the names, but you know, what can you do? All right, so we'll go for the big one first, because why wouldn't you? So we'll go for the big one first. Isn't it? He's just fabulous with his little frondy. I nearly said the wrong word then. Sam knows what I said. She's just snort laughed, I can tell. By the way, we're not in the same place. But I can tell she knows what I just nearly said. And they're actually not that hard to cut out. I cut out yesterday. Where have I put them? Oh no. I just lifted off the tub that I thought they were in. And they're not in that tub. Oh no. Oh, it's right beside me. They're not that difficult to cut out. Those ones actually cut off by accident. I wasn't intending to. They're actually really easy to cut out, which is really good. All of these are, to be honest. Hence why I have a tub full. Look. I won't lie. The big ones that I stamped on paper are much easier to cut out than these ones that I stamped on card. But I don't think that's really that big of a surprise. But yes, I've done lots. Very excited about it. All right. Big moth. We're going to ink up. And I've put my book on top of something. This may not work. For a double stamp, that's actually really good. I'm really happy with that. Oh look, Bev's got dirt on her stamp again. It's almost like there's a theme. I'm actually over inking. It's because I've got a new VersaFine. What can you do? Okay, so then I'm going to move on to, I can't remember if, and I have stamped lots of him, if he'll fit on here. He does just about. So now we're going to go for the second largest one, which is this fella down here. And I'm just going to use my border super skinny. In all honesty, if I can use my border super skinny, I will. I find it really tactile to use. I think you can get the lift really nicely to create an even pressure. So to be fair, if a stamp will fit on here, this is the one it's getting used with. All right, then we'll go for this middle one. Again, with his nice fluffy antenna. And you can see they've just got sort of like a bigger, chunkier body to make them more mothy. But during my moth research, or research should I say, it's surprising how many butterflies that we think of butterflies are actually moths and vice versa. So when, to be honest, I'm doing stamps and I call them butterflies or moths, it's, for example, our perception of a butterfly or a moth. But lots are actually not what you think they are. Right, so then we've got this little guy here with his round wings, which I just think is really, really cute. And I think he's going to get used a lot to cover up inky marks because he's small, he's easy to cut out. You know what I mean? He is my mark coverer. Won't cover Sam's mark, but he is my mark coverer. And then let's go to last but by no means least, this little guy who's got these stunning wings. And as daft as it sounds, I feel like his wings are almost one of the most detailed. But look at these lovely fine lines on here. Look at, for want of a better description, the hairs on the body of this guy. You're going to need a bigger moth than that to cover your mark, or a lot of them. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I get very... I think the problem is as well, at the minute, and this is going to sound like I'm having a moan, which I'm not really, maybe a little bit. I think the problem is now, due to the influx of lower quality stamps, maybe people new to crafting, stamping, etc., think that's what clear stamps are like, and it's like, no, they're not. If you get a good quality clear stamp, which ours are, made in the UK, they are strong and they have beautiful detail. If you have a stamp that has little lines on it, for example, like these antennae, and you can squish them, or they flexed really badly, unfortunately, that's more likely going to be a silicon stamp than a clear polymer stamp. Silicon stamps, they just don't have the durability. See, look at me thinking of all the words. Oh, I know. Right, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to flick this page over, because we've seen them all now, and let's have sort of a play with them instead. Okay? So I think what I'll do is I'll use this middle guy, because why not? So give him a bit of a quick wipe off. Okay, so if you get, let's get some, tell you what, let's actually get some distress ink. Okay, and I'm going to go with, let's get some greens and the pinks and purples. And that's not just because they're the only two I can get, because I've built a stack so big in front of the thing I can't get the other colours. It just seems like that. Alright, so we're going to take our moth. I'm going to get some crushed olive. And we're going to go along here with our crushed olive on the top wing. And then let's go with some seedless preserves. Absolutely lovely. In the bottom of here. And then maybe some forest moss. Some forest moss. A little bit down the middle. Okay. And then we're going to, as my children used to say when it got frosty outside, we're going to huff our breath along the stamp and stamp it on. Now this is distress ink, so you do get that sort of distressed look. Okay. And then we'll do a spritz, and then do another one to give you a sort of really watercoloured look. So out of your one inking up, you get these two fabulous sort of moths, don't you? Absolutely stunning. And obviously that's when you can start really mixing with your colours and having quite a bit of fun with it. All right, so the different effect though, I tell you what, I will just very quickly, well, it won't be very quickly, I have no need to go very quickly. We're going to ink it up again in the same colours. It's tissue that's on my stamps, isn't it? Because I'm using kitchen roll. Get my microfiber back out. All right, so we're going to go with the same colours, she hopes, on. All right, but what we'll do is we'll mist it before the first stamp instead of just breathing on it, so you can see the difference. All right, so I'm just going to mist it once. So you can see you do get much more fill in, but you potentially lose some of the detail. And there are quite solid sections to this stamp, so which is why you get the really distressed look. If you were using something like VersaFine or even your Distress Oxide, you're not going to get that distressed look because this is distressing. That's what it's for. Okay. Okay, but say you are a very concerning person and you don't have any distress inks or any of those sort of blendable inks yet at all. Okay, but you do have eco lines or something like that. Very, very similar sort of thing. Okay, so you can take your eco line and colour your stamp in. This does almost give you a little bit more. That's excellent that you know. See, they absolutely do work with a stamp press, but I am not particularly good with a stamp press. I have tried them. John Lockwood actually gave me one to play with, and I just find Super Skinny Slims easier. But you have to use. But this is why I don't say that's rubbish, this is rubbish, blah, 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 blah. Because it might be the perfect thing for somebody. You can only say what works for you. It's a really sort of... So I tend not to. Well, basically it's rude as well to say, oh, that product's terrible. I don't know. No, it just didn't work for me. That doesn't mean the product's terrible. So I'm going to breathe on that. Stamp that down. And then, again, we'll spritz with the water. This is going to have a really sort of watercoloured look to it. Okay, so this is the thing. When you see... I think sometimes we've had mixed results with the sort of packaging we create, like when we do coloured in packaging and blah, 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 blah. And we have found with stamps like this that the solid black is the best way to show you exactly what your stamp will stamp. Okay, but I do think sometimes it can make you think an image is quite hard. You know, it's quite a harsh image. When it's not. It's all about how you do it. So, for example, that moth there looks a much more gentle image. It looks much softer. Okay, and that's all about how you're stamping it and things like that. Okay, so another thing that I've seen... I'll tell you what, we'll do this on the big one so we can see. I mean, I've got a nearly 2 metre desk. It's ridiculous. I've got no space. But I don't. This is our current reality. Okay, so this will actually probably work a little bit better on this cardstock. As you can see, I was playing with it the other day. So let's lift this down. So we're going to take the big moth. And I actually really, really like the forest moss for his body. So I'm going to do that first. Okay, again, if you really want to make sure it doesn't have a distressed look, you want more of a pigment ink than a dye-based ink for that. So that would be, you know, your VersaFine Clairs, but then you can't really do the water techniques or your distress oxides, that sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to go in sort of like a wilted violet. Yeah, because the big thing, like I said, when I was doing my research, was that people tend to think butterflies are bright, moths are brown, and it's not really that. I mean, it can be, but it's not really that. Okay, I meant to keep out the colours I used. So, I'm going to stamp this. I might give it a little. This one there. On here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to mist it a couple of times just to create a little bit of a blur. Okay. I'm going to dry it off. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually think that looks really kind of cool as it is, because you can actually still see quite a lot of the detail of him. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-ink him. I might even put a little bit of that on the edges. And a little bit of the wilted violet down there. Clean that off. Okay. Then we're going to give it one mist, actually. I'm going to go over the top. Just to give it that really sort of ethereal look. But you've still got the definition of the stamp, which I absolutely love. I also think it'd be nice to go over the top and heat emboss maybe in gold. I think that would look really, really pretty. Or go over with one of the smaller ones. So that's where I think these sort of stamps, you know, I keep saying it today, it seems to be my junk word, the potential. And they've got that potential of being able to do so much with them. So, but like I say, they are so easy to cut out as well. So if I just, let's go with this one. Sorry, I'm just looking for me perforating tool. Oh, I'm trying to rip out 2 pages. That's why it's not going as well as I'd like. Ha! So with a lovely pointy pair of scissors, you can just, like I said, they've got really sort of flowy lines that are ever so easy to follow. So I would always do in around his body first, one side at a time. And then but here is where I won't do the antenna completely while I've still got the bits to cut out. So I'll go around one side, okay, and then I'll chop off the top, because then you're not working around as much card or paper stock. Again, yeah, just work down one side, because otherwise you're just tempting them to get bent and ripped off and whatever. Now I will say, if cutting them out is not for you, that's totally fine. I won't judge you if you just decide to lop them off. And then we just go in, round and out. There he is. Absolutely lovely. And ready to go if you wanted to add more in. Because of course what you could do is you could either bring in a third colour, or if you're using the right sort of paper stock, of course, you could draw some of this colour out to create more of a green sort of purple. But what I would be tempted to do is my chair has got the super squeaks today. Let's lift all these up. Let's pretend I'm a marginally tidy person. Just for a minute. Okay. So you could either, see, this is not the right paper stock, so I don't think this is going to work for me. If you, for example, on this one, that we did this on, it would work. But use like some water just to pull the colour, activate the colour. Oh, actually, it's not too bad. Activate that colour and just pull it in to give it a more watercoloured look that you've probably got a little bit more control over. Okay, so you can see it's just pulling the colour in just a little. But you could always as well, this is a ink pad that currently needs cleaned, is just add in some of the colours separately, or even bring in a different colour. It's just a wash. Just sort of just bring that in, and that will create a really sort of watercolour look. So it's really about the versatility of the moths, I think, that are really, they're a really big thing. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. We have more lives coming up today. We have got Sam and Sally and me again. So I will be back here on YouTube at 8 p.m. this evening. But between there, you've got 2 YouTube lives, one with Sam, one with Sally. So make sure you check out the Be Crafty YouTube page for those. Yep. Okay, and they will be there going through more of the new products in different and fantabulous ways, I'm absolutely sure. So these are the 2 stamp sets that are new today, and obviously we also have the new paper pads, so do make sure you check those out. There is also a bundle deal on just for today, but if you are catching up at a much later date, then you can get the Catalyst collage in the multi-buy deal for those, so please do have a look at those. So it's 12 o'clock with Sam on Facebook, and 3 o'clock with Sally on Facebook. So do be sure to go and... I'm sorry, Sam. I thought I'd said the times earlier. It's been... All right then, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to check out the Be Crafty website where you can find everything we do. Bye.